Hello everyone, this is Brian Kwan. I'm presenting my final Pathfinder project for LBSC 602. We were tasked to come up with a disadvantaged population to create a resource for, so I've come up with Puerto Ricans who have recently moved to Florida after Hurricane Maria last year in 2017. And I specifically want to look at their voting behavior. I came up with this topic from a CNN article. And this guy who's running for the U.S. House of Representatives doesn't think that Puerto Ricans should be able to vote in the upcoming elections. So that was kind of what set me off on this topic. So we come back to the main page here. We have an introduction, a little visual depiction of the migration out of Puerto Rico and where Puerto Ricans are moving to. You can see a lot of it is focused on Central Florida and the Orlando suburbs, and Osceola is where a lot of my research came from for this project. So the kind of rhetoric that this politician is speaking is the kind of behavior that keeps voter behavior or voter turnout low and creates a feeling of hostility at the polls. So I'm hoping this LibGuide page will make the process a little bit more transparent and friendly and encourage a higher turnout rate amongst Puerto Ricans living in Florida. Back on the island, the Puerto Ricans actually have very high voter turnout numbers. But when they get to the States, their voter turnout numbers drop off dramatically. So how do we get those participation numbers up? Well, the research will tell you that simply outreach is the best method. Showing people how to vote, that they can vote, goes a long way to encouraging participation in the process. This has been something of a problem historically because the political parties see Puerto Ricans as low turnout voters, so they don't reach out to them. And because Puerto Ricans are not reached out to, then they do not participate. So it's kind of a vicious cycle of non-participation in American politics. So at the most basic level of outreach, I wanted to just show Puerto Ricans in Florida that they are in fact allowed to participate. They are U.S. citizens. All they need to do is register to vote in order to participate in government at all levels, local to national. So I've included a resource here about eligibility requirements to be registered to vote in Florida, and important dates about getting registered and when the elections are. I have some links to register to vote online here, and at some point they're going to need voter ID, so I've encouraged them to get a Florida driver's license or an ID issued by the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles, so they will not have any problems at the polls or getting registered. The research also demonstrates the need to reach out in Spanish as well as English, so I've included some Spanish election resources here, so they're not intimidated by the process. So under voter or assistance, language assistance provisions, we have some documents all in Spanish, glossary of terms translated, so the election terms won't be so intimidating. I've also got a document here about basic questions about the process answered or posed and answered in Spanish. I also wanted to make Puerto Ricans aware of the larger community of Puerto Ricans in Florida. There are over 1 million, and I've included some links to organizations. So while they're making the transition to a new culture, learning a new language, they'll have people that are in the same situation as them. A lot of these are Get Out the Vote organizations. This is the Spanish language newspaper in the Orlando area. There's a Facebook page associated with Boricua Vota to further connect you with the community. Also, the research showed that Puerto Ricans feel discouraged about voting if they don't see that their vote is meaningful or they can achieve representation. So I've included this link to Puerto Ricans that are in government right now. So Osceola County, Florida, county commissioner, another county commissioner. This gentleman, Darren Soto, is actually in the U.S. House of Representatives representing the Osceola area at the national level. So I wanted to make sure that the Puerto Ricans in Florida felt like their vote was meaningful, that they could achieve power and representation. And lastly, I just wanted to run through briefly some of the other resources here. This general U.S. election information, Project VoteSmart, and Ballotpedia are both ways to research candidates, see sample ballots. Resources in Florida for the Division of Elections, Osceola County specific page. I have some important contact information in Osceola County in Florida, a voter assistance hotline including language help, and further reading on American politics. If you want to get really into it, learn everything about the process, that's available. So I'm hoping this resource will help Puerto Ricans feel more comfortable with the U.S. election system and more inclined to vote. Thank you.